Good evening, everybody. Glance in the mirror, back at you. I got something I want to share with you because I was thinking about this concerning this pandemic. I'm in 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter, verse 3 and 4. Let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. Verse 4. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. I was thinking about this, with us on lockdown and people having to be in isolation at their own homes. I thought about that. Maybe God is using this to make married couples get closer together, because before this pandemic, he was too busy. He wasn't never coming home. She was too busy. She wasn't never coming home. And they definitely wasn't giving each other the affection due each other. I mean, they were like revolving doors. When one comes in, the other one goes out. And the kids were sitting here watching this. Or when he got off work, he stopped by the bar first before he came home because he didn't want to argue with her. And he timed it where if I wait a little bit, she'll go on to bed and then I'll come home. That way I ain't got to face her. And then by the time morning comes, he's out of the bed because he goes to work earlier than her. So she hardly ever sees him. And it probably been going like that for years. Or vice versa. The wife never comes home like that. Or the wife's home, but she's hiding behind housework or hiding behind, I got to do things for the kids. So she's not giving her husband the affection due him. How about, just follow me in my thought right now. What if God is using this to make you get closer with your spouse? To where now he done cleared your schedule. You ain't got no job to go to. You have to be home. You can't stop at the bar. You can't ride around the block 3 times before you come in the house. You're stuck in the house. And you, wife, you can't hide behind other duties. You're stuck in the house. You're looking at him every day. He's looking at you every day. What if let's just follow me now. Who knows what God is thinking? Who knows why God is allowing this pandemic? Because I told you in the video before, at any moment he can stop it if he wanted to. But if he's allowing it to happen, trust me, what the devil means for our evil, God turns around for our good. He makes it work for our good. What if you were headed for divorce court prior to this pandemic? But because you're stuck together for weeks, probably even months, because people stuck in the house for a long time, you're forced to cuddle and watch TV together. You're forced to cook for that man that works so hard for you. You're forced to check on your wife and see what kind of needs she had, because you can't go nowhere. See, it's out of because before this, maybe we were too privileged. We were too spoiled. We had too many options. God cleared all the other options. He gave you one option now. Stay home with your wife. Stay home with your husband. You had too many options. I'm reminded of the scripture. David said, this one thing I do. He narrowed it down to one thing, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. He says, and I like how Paul put it, this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are here. Your life is better when you narrow it down. I like to say this: the more selective you are, the more effective you are. Some of us got too many options. That's why we are not effective. When you got too many options, you forget the priorities in your life. Maybe God is allowing this shutdown and people stuck in their homes, got to stay home. Maybe he's allowing that because you was too busy for your wife. You was too busy for your husband. I think this isolation, this quarantining, these things that's going on right now, it's either going to make or break a marriage. I think people who are headed for divorce court after this pandemic is over going to say, never mind, I fell in love with him all over again. I fell in love with her all over again. Or they're going to know we're getting divorced. It's one or the other. Because sometimes being around somebody all the time and never having a break from them, it'll do the opposite effect. It'll drive you crazy. It'll make you not want to be around them because they're irritating you. So that's why I say, I believe it's going to make or break a marriage. I'm counting more on making the marriage work. But, you know, it could go either way. And the other thing I thought, you know, people have to stay home. What if you're a single person with no kids? That means you're isolated by yourself. I want to pray for those people. I want to pray that God strengthen those people. They don't have a spouse to go home to or kids to go home to. While everybody at these grocery stores are fighting for toilet tissue and goods for the kitchen and in the house for their families, this person only gets toilet tissue and goods for himself. He's in there by himself. I want to say to you, use this time to get to know your God. Use this time to read and to open his word and to speak to him. You will find him if you seek with him with all your heart. I want to say that to that person that's going home by themselves. The other thing I was thinking, I believe God's going to use this to repair parents' relationships with their children. Because, like I said, your house was like a revolving door up to this point. The kids don't see the mom or dad because by the time they come home, the dad's gone or he went to bed, and the kids staying out late, and then they come back in at the last minute, you know, and it's time to go to sleep. And so the next morning, you know, if the parent do want to see him, they got to catch him before they go to school, because they might wake up and go in the room and he's gone, the kid's gone off to school. These daycares was raising our kids. These schools and these teachers and principals were raising our kids. In some of our cases, the streets were raising our kids. Well, God shut the streets down. God shut the schools down, the classrooms down. You got to go home to your dad and your mom. You got to sit at the dinner table with your mom and dad now. You got to watch TV with your mom and dad now. Especially in this internet age right now. I'm not going to keep going because I feel like I can go along with this, but I don't want to wear your patience. But just bear with me for a while. In this internet age right now that we're living in, many of us don't even know our kids. They're like strangers in our house because they're so much into social media. We don't know what their interests are. We don't know what's going on in their hearts. Like, what are their plans? Because they're not speaking to you. Matter of fact, they're walking in the house, not even looking at you. They're looking at their phone all the way, walking to their room. They're ignoring you. They might say real quick, hey, dad, hey, mom, but they didn't even look at you. They didn't embrace you. They didn't hug you. And you did the same thing. Oh, hey, how's everything? Okay, well, come down for lunch, or come down, we're about to eat. That's all you said. Now, you're forced to look your son or your daughter in the face and say, how's things been going with you? And you'll be surprised what they tell you when they open up. And you'll find out. I believe God's using this time for us to find out, wait a minute, I didn't know that was going on in my child's life. You mean to tell me all these months that's been happening? And from the child's perspective, you're going to find some of the stuff that you thought you had to figure out on your own. Oh, you're going to say to yourself, you mean to tell me all I had to do was talk to my dad about this? Or talk to my mom about this? God is bringing the family back together. God is bringing the family back. And the other thing, I think there's going to be a lot of kids coming out of this. A lot of babies, pregnancies. Because you're forced to be in a closed, confined space with your spouse. Especially if you're making up with each other and realizing, look, I want to stay married. I don't want to be divorced. Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be a lot of pregnancies coming out of this. I think it's going to be a lot extended families coming out of this. So I think God is, where the devil is trying to destroy families, I think God's going to turn this thing around and rebuild the family. I mean, from the baby on up to the father of the house. And I think out of this pandemic, gonna come stronger households. Matter of fact, I'm believing God for that. Stronger households, stronger marriages, stronger bonds between parents and children. To where the teacher don't know your child better than you no more. Do you not know that's where it is right now? Most of these teachers and principals know your child better than you because they spend more time with them than you do. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's true. You should know your son or your daughter better than anybody in this world. Better than their homeboy or their teacher or their classmate. So I believe God's going to bring the family back together. And for that person that doesn't have a family and stuck in the house by yourself, use this time to get closer to God. And I pray that after this pandemic is over, we don't go back to business as usual like we were doing. I pray that after this, when we get those options back, I pray that we still prioritize our families. Because we realize, wait a minute, I don't want to go back to not coming home. Or I don't want to go back to hiding behind school, taking care of my kids and being there for my kids. So I'll be so busy I don't have to deal with him. I don't want us to go back to business as usual. I want us to have a new normal where we're bonding and we're prioritizing the family. And that guy or that woman who's single and goes home by themselves, when this pandemic is over, I want them to have a new lease on life. Not to look at their singleness like a curse or a bad thing. But wow, I built my relationship with God. I feel, matter of fact, I want to do more. I want to take my relationship with God on a cruise. I want to take my relationship with God, and share it with other people and my friends and all that. A lot of times we are too spoiled. We are too privileged. We don't realize that the value and the treasure that probably we're looking for out in the street or out in the world is right in your own home. I'm reminded of Jesus when he said, but God, when he said to Moses, what's that in your hand? You're looking for something outside of you, but you had it the whole time. Look at the treasure that's in your own home. And I'm believing God for a revival of households and families. Because as the family goes, our world goes. Our world is comprised of families and households. So if the families and households are broken up and in disarray, well, what do you think our world's going to be? It's going to be broken up and in disarray. But if you start with the family and rebuild the family, that's going to make a better world for us. So be blessed. I'm not going to wear your patience. I just thought about that and I said, wait a minute. I think God's behind this and he's going to get some glory. Because what sparked this was, I know from the word of God and from studying his word, if God allows something, it's always in the end going to be for his glory. So I said to myself, what in the world could be something he can get the glory out of with this? And I thought about it. He wants to strengthen the family. So be blessed. Use this time of isolation and home, I call house arrest, to bond with your spouse, to bond with your children. And may God bless and strengthen your family in Jesus' name.